Good morning, Americans. This is your favorite alien here on Tuesday, July 13th, 2021, here at the Springs at Park Hill in Orange City, Florida, sitting in for Paul Harvey this morning. Stand by for the rest of the story. Well, Mr. Harvey, if you're upstairs with the boss, you did this story. I'm going to do it a little different. And the story's on the Whigs. 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 That was a term that was used in the 18th and 19th century in America. It's still used by the British. Whigs in Britain means liberals, as you call them in America today, and the Tories are the conservatives. In America, they used the term in the Revolutionary War. The Whigs were the people that were anti-British rule, and the Tories were the loyalists. So the Whigs were the patriots, and the Tories were the loyalists. Yeah. Well, in the 1830s, some crazy Americans decided to form a party called the Whigs. Yeah. Well, because remember, there was only one party between 1800 and 1840. There was only one party. And that's today's dumb Democrats. Oh, they taste worse than the Republicans. The Republicans taste awful. Yeah. But anyway, the Whigs formed this party in the 1830s. And they decided to have a candidate in 1840, so they went and looked for a hero. And there so happened to be William Henry Harrison, Old Hickory. Yeah. Okay. So they said, we got it made here. We'll make our staff in the north, and Mr. Harrison can carry some of the south. And we'll throw in a nobody there, John Tyler. Yeah. So they did. And they were good at campaigning. The Whigs were, they could beat any of today's parties at campaigning. Even the Democrats of today. And that's us saying, once you can say voting for Biden. That's opposed to the Republicans voting for Trump, huh? So you see, you choke on both counts. But anyway, the Whigs were good campaigners, so they developed a slogan. Nobody had developed slogans up till then. And they came up with Tippy Canoe and Tyler too. Yeah. Well, they won the election of 1840 to the Democrats' dismay. Yeah, right. But as you're finding out, the Whigs were good campaigners, but bad selectors. William Henry Harrison was a general to start with. And, well, he went over there and did his inaugural address 2 hours in the rain, and 30 days later, he croaked. Yeah. Bye-bye, Old Hickory. Hello, John Tyler. Yeah. And by the way, John Tyler, by the time he left office in 1845, was he unpopular? And the Whigs were, we're going to vote for James K. Polk. And the dumb Democrat won, James K. Polk. And the first thing he did is annexation of Texas. Yeah, took you into war, just like what President Biden's doing today. So Polk was the 19th century version of Joe Biden. Because nobody liked John Tyler. He was like Trump. Really. And you got to look into John Tyler's administration to see how bad he was. He was like the administration of Donald J. Trump. Yeah. Okay. So they elected James K. Polk, and the Whigs went to lick their wounds. And Polk did the stupidest thing. He annexed Texas. And by the way, that cost you Americans, because Texas wanted to be annexed. They owed $10 million, so you guys paid them. So when Texas became a country, a state, Lone Star State, you had to pay their bill of $10 million. Any country out there want to become the 51st state of the United States, they'll pay your bill for you. Yoo-hoo. Yeah, they did. Okay. And the Whigs, they were licking their wounds, and all of a sudden, Polk made their second stupid mistake and declared war on Mexico. Yeah. And you guys say, oh, that was the best war we ever had. Look at all we won. Yeah, really? Look at all the problems you're having in the western United States. The Latins want to take reconquest. Yoo-hoo, yahoo, and all the weather problems and everything that you're having in the western United States. Ooh, all those Mexican sessions. It's come back to bite you in the derriere. Yoo-hoo! Yeah. So was it worth the war of 1846 to 48 there, boys? Really? But during the war, you had a nice old guy. Old rough and ready, Mr. Zachary Taylor, or General Zachary Taylor. And James K. Polk was finding out that he was stealing the spotlight. Yeah, he was. In the war that he started, and somebody else was stealing his spotlight, and it was Zachary Taylor. Yeah. Zachary was winning here, winning there, smashing the Mexicans. Big time. Bang, 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 bang. And Polk couldn't stand it. Polk was, yeah. And he wanted to run for re-election, okay? So the Whigs say, hey, look at this. This guy is giving James K. Polk a hard time down there. Yeah. So in 1847, it came down to invade Mexico City. And what did James K. Polk order Zachary Taylor to do? Stay in northern Mexico. Yeah. And give the title to General Scott to go over there and invade Mexico City. Well, General Scott eventually invaded Mexico City, but boy, did he take his price. He paid the price for it. He won, yeah, but he paid the price. You guys paid the price. If you don't believe me, look at all the, quote, dead people from the campaign of Mexico City, and you'll see how bad he paid the price. Anyway, the Whigs decided, oh, well, we still got Zachary Taylor because the people's, his value had grown. And Zachary Taylor did indeed increase his value by defeating Santa Anna and Bellavista. And that was the end of the war. So Taylor actually came out ahead, and that irked Mr. Polk to no end there. It irked him so much that he decided not to run for re-election. And the Whigs decided, hey, let's go after old Rough and Ready here. Yeah. But Rough and Ready had something. He had a skeleton that nobody knew about. And if it came out, would the Whigs be in trouble? Okay. And they thought about it and said, okay, we're going to roll the dice. We know there's a skeleton here, and hopefully it won't come out in the campaign. He never did it. He swore he never did it. And you got to understand, Zachary Taylor was a guy that was always down the center. He never said a bad thing about anybody, bound-mouthed the administration, especially James K. Polk. He never did any of that. He was your old-fashioned general, yes, sir, no, sir, okay, sir, put me in the latrines and I'll be okay. That was old Rough and Ready. Well, the election went on the schedule in 1848, and to the surprise, the Whigs won because they had the North, and Zachary Taylor, being a slave owner, carried the South. Woo, yeah. So, when he went to vote, that was the first and only time in his life that he voted. Yes, that was the big secret of Zachary Taylor. He had never voted before or since. And Zachary Taylor turned out to be an okay president. And the big problem that the Whigs had was that you had the Compromise of 1820 coming undone during their administration. And Zachary Taylor opposed the Compromise of 1850. Unfortunately for the Whigs, he croaked too, like old Hickory over there in 1840. Yeah. And they had put a dum-dum again as Vice President Millard Fillmore. And what did Millard Fillmore do? Well, he voted for the Compromise of 1850 and pushed it through Congress. Yes. Which made the people irky. The Whigs were never a power. When they, in 1853, when the term was over, they were obliterated, and a new party came on, the Republican Party. Yeah. But then, you had the Democrats of James Buchanan. Oh, is he going to be like Kamala Harris? Or Kamala Harris is just like James Buchanan. Look at James Buchanan, look at Kamala Harris, and you'll see he's a segregationist. It's the same way as James Buchanan. Anyway, sitting in for Paul Harvey, I wanted to show you that one person never voted in his life, never assumed anything or anyone, never said a bad word about anybody, became president of the United States that way. Sitting in for Paul Harvey, this is your favorite alien. And now you know the rest of the story.